Hello everybody, my name is Caitlin and welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things horror. And today I'm going to be talking about the new Shudder Christmas horror movie, Christmas Bloody Christmas. This is the second of recent Christmas movies that I've seen, the first one being Violent Night. I've already posted my review for Violent Night, so if you like, you can go check that out as well. But let's get into Christmas Bloody Christmas, which has a different type of killer Santa than what we're used to seeing in these types of movies. In this film, Santa Claus is an AI who ends up malfunctioning and going on this killing spree, and his primary target is record store owner Tori and all of her friends. I'm probably not going to give any spoilers for this movie. Honestly, I'm not sure how much I have to say about this film. I was a little hesitant going into the film. Just looking at some of the reviews on Shudder, people seem to be pretty mixed about it. For me, I started off really liking the film. And then somewhere in the middle, I was like, I don't think I'm liking this that much. And then I started to like it a little bit more at the end. But then by the end, I was just kind of meh about it. I will say one thing that I really like about this film is the color scheme. I love the look of it. I love the aesthetics of it. It's a very colorful film. You have a lot of neon greens and pinks and blues and reds. I saw some people comparing the look of this film to a Rob Zombie film, which I didn't really get. I guess maybe because it has the same color scheme as the Weird Ass Monsters movie that he did. But to me, the look of this film was way more polished than what we've seen from a Rob Zombie movie. It was also shot on actual Kodak film, which I thought was really cool, and it definitely gives the film this great cinematic look. It has a great texture to it. We have a lot of these kinds of horror movies that want to have that 70s and 80s aesthetics, and you can tell that they will add in that grainy look in post-production, right? They'll put it in digitally. And at first I thought that's what this film did, but then there was a moment somewhere in the middle where I noticed that on the edges of the screen of the frame, it looked like a little fuzzy, right? It had that look like there was some dust on the side of the frame, and I was like, oh no, they actually shot this with film. So that was cool. I appreciate that, and the natural film look definitely enhanced the atmosphere of the film. Overall, I thought the acting was pretty good. I really liked the characters of Tori and Robbie. The film sets up that Tori is the owner of this record store and Robbie is one of her employees, and you can tell that they definitely have a crush on one another, but Tori isn't willing to start a relationship with Robbie because she's technically his boss. And you spend a lot of time with Tori and Robbie and just hanging out with them as they're talking about music and they're talking about horror movies. And at first I was really into it. It was fun hanging out with them. They felt like real characters. The dialogue between the two of them felt very natural. It was fun. But then by the 40-minute mark, I started to wonder, like, when is the slashing gonna start happening? I will say, similar to Violent Night, which took a jab at Halloween Kills, this movie also takes a jab at another very terrible Blumhouse movie, Black Christmas. You have Tori and Robbie talking about how bad of a movie it is, which I found very relatable. But then in like the next scene, they start talking about how great Blair Witch 2 Book of Shadows is. And I was just like, oh no. But yes, there's a lot of talking between these two characters before AI Santa comes and starts wreaking havoc. So if you're gonna watch this movie, go into it knowing that not a lot is gonna happen for the first 25 to 30 minutes. If that doesn't sound appealing to you, then I would probably suggest that you just stick with a classic holiday slasher film like Silent Night, Deadly Night. As for the kills themselves and the AI Santa, it's fine. It's pretty run-of-the-mill slasher movie. There's nothing too over the top. There's nothing that we really haven't seen before in these types of movies. I feel like with the name of Christmas Bloody Christmas, there could have been a little bit more slashing, a little bit more gore. The film also doesn't give you a reason why anything that's happening in this movie is happening. They briefly mention at the beginning of the film that this robotic Santa has been made by the military for reasons. And then there's really no explanation for why this Santa has just started malfunctioning and why it's going around killing people. There are also things where you see the AI Santa kind of walking through the town. He sees Tori and Robbie getting in their car and leaving. And then the next scene, you see Robbie and Tori arriving at her house. They get out of the car. And then you see the AI Santa just approaching the home. No explanation as to how he knew where they were going. Again, he watched them drive away. And then he just like teleports to the house, which I get, it's playing on this idea in these slasher movies where the killer just has the ability to teleport to wherever their victims are at any given moment. So this is the type of film that Christmas Bloody Christmas is. It's not the type of movie that's interested in giving you any kind of concrete explanation. This is not an intellectual film by any means. It just wants to be a fun, cheesy B movie. I feel like if there had been some sort of explanation, it would have maybe helped ground the film a little bit. Because for the most part, the film feels a bit aimless, right? It's just kind of going all over the place, but there's really no rhyme or reason as to why anything is happening. I would have liked if they had leaned a little bit more into the whole artificial intelligence part of the story. I feel like that was the most interesting, that was the most fresh and new idea that this film was bringing to the table. I was going into it thinking that maybe there may be some commentary on technology and our over-reliance on technology, but there wasn't any of that. Really, I just wanted, I think, to be a cool homage to Terminator. And yes, I get that doing homages to classic films that we love is fun. I do that myself in my own films, but I feel like we're seeing this pattern in independent horror films like this one, where the homaging to the 70s and 80s tends to take precedent over telling a good and interesting story. There are other characters that come in and out throughout the film. You don't really get to know any of them. And so yeah, when people were getting killed and dying, I didn't really care. I didn't find the film to be that scary either. I was never really creeped out at any point throughout it. So overall, it's a bit hard for me to recommend this movie. I feel like there are probably some people within the horror fandom that will like what this movie is doing. So I would say if you are interested in watching this movie and you have Shudder, go ahead and give it a chance. It's a short movie. It's only like 80 minutes. And again, it's not a film that you have to think very hard about. So it's very much a film that you could put on and leave in the background as you're, I don't know, wrapping Christmas presents or baking or something. But like I said earlier, if you're looking for a film that's purely just a slasher with lots of killings, this movie's not really going to give you that. Again, you're going to have to wait a good 40 minutes and get through all the talking before you get to any of the action scenes. Personally, I don't see myself coming back to this film and revisiting it during the next holiday cycle. Of the two films that I've recently seen, if I had to pick one to put into my holiday movie rotation, it would probably be Violent Night. So those are my brief thoughts on Christmas Bloody Christmas. I will say, I know that this movie is directed by Joe Begos, I think is how you say his last name. He directed films like Bliss and VFW that I know people really liked. I haven't seen those films yet. And while I wasn't a huge fan of this movie, I did enjoy the visual style enough that I'm interested in going back and seeing his previous films. Did you see Christmas Bloody Christmas? If so, let me know what you thought in the comments below, and I will talk to you next time. Happy holidays, and thank you for watching.